we have on Planet X, Nibiru, the Winged Destroyer, Nemesis, whatever name you want to put to it. This is some really good footage. It just gets better and better. I don't know if people are really doing more searching now for Planet X versus 6 months ago or a year ago, but it just seems like every time I put up a new podcast, the images that I get are amazing. Like right now, the first image that we're looking at, this was sent to us from Chris. And as you can see, there's definitely an orb to the top left of the sun right there. And some people might say, well, that's just a lens flare. That's an anomaly. Okay, could be. But take a look at this, you guys. Look at this. You've got two objects of lens flare. You've got two sets of lens flare there. You've got the sun right here. And to the top left, you've got this orb. And the reflection of it's down there. So, Jason, thanks for joining us here at the Leak Project. How's it going?
I'm doing good. How you doing?
Oh, doing fantastic. You know, lots going on right now. We're going to be able to put full-time effort into Leak Project now. I do not have a day job to worry about. So this is wonderful. We're going to do a tour this month or next across the entire country, and we're going to get some stellar footage. We're going to talk to people all over the place. So now, last time we spoke, Jason, you gave us some really good footage, orbital paths and stuff that seemed to kind of freeze up at the worst time. So on the second half of this podcast, what I'd like to do is those updates on those orbital paths and make sure that they're as smooth as silk. But what do you think of this picture right here, man?
I think that's really good footage. From what I've been seeing, it as of this month, it's been coming out from behind the sun, and it's really revealing itself, especially in the higher elevations. So a lot of people have been getting objects, and like we know there's probably 4 or 5 objects that comes with this system. So yeah, that's definitely one of them. I'd say that's the sun, the actual binary of the system. There's a lot of names for that, but yeah, that's giving off its own light. They can see it clear as day there, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, this one's great. She's got her hand in the middle of the sun and that object, so you can see that it's not some type of lens refraction.
Yeah, and it's actually got two, the refractions there are blue, and you can see 2 of them. One's got the classic pink around it from the sun, and the other one's smaller and blue and in correlation to where the second sun is. So, yep, hard to debunk that one.
I got to tell you, thanks a lot, Chris. I really appreciate this footage. This is stellar. Some of the best images I've seen yet. And then I go down to this next image here. This is from Christina Holland, and she used a welder's lens or some type of filtering system here, so you could see that you've got these 2 objects again, and then 2 sets of lens flare to go with it.
Yeah, and that's what people say, oh, it's a lens flare, it's because you got multiple layers of glass there. Well, what these people are doing all the time is rotating the camera and the glass and everything. They're showing you that that object does not move. So it's not, it couldn't be that way. You know what I mean? Right. They're putting on a welding helmet, and they're looking up at the sun. They see it there, and then they just put the camera there, and it's seeing the same thing.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that's some video footage that I'm going to show here in a moment, actually, from the same lady. She does that. She's got the welder's lens. She puts the camera, angles it so it actually goes through there, and you can see the lens flares bouncing around, but you can see the stationary objects stay in the same location, so it's pretty cool. We'll get to that in just a minute. Now, this one's from Kathleen, and you can see this shot was taken last month. She said she used a gamer type cameras. I don't know if it's a Bushnell, I guess that's what it says down here. So this is very interesting. I don't know really what to make all this reddish anomaly blobbish stuff around it, but you can definitely see there's this second sun source right here, this orb, I should say, second light source and orb.
Yeah. I'd say that's I'd say that's probably the object that was, if that was last month, like I said, it was supposed to be passing kind of across the sun, if you will, from our perception as we rotate around it. And yeah, it would make sense that it's on the left of the sun now and on the right of the sun at that time, So even the red, like last night, I seen the craziest sunset. I mean, I've seen in a long time, and I've noticed that even to the west and to the east, both sides are red for some reason. I mean, I know red light bends easier, and that's why you see it. But last night, I literally seen, after the sun went down, it looked like just a streak of red that went like almost like a rainbow, around the sky, and they were chemtrailing the whole time, even at night. And then when you looked up at the moon, it looked like the moon had a bulge on it, like there was this blue orb like appearing out from behind it, man. And I watched it for like a half hour. I was blinking, clear my eyes, like, I was like, what the heck, man? And it was just some of the craziest stuff I've seen, like real life, you know what I mean? Like, we're seeing a lot of these red sunsets. So I believe that that holds true with the red oxide, or maybe the bending of light, or brown dwarf, or, because whatever it is, it's basically, like I said, red light's the beginning of the spectrum. It's easier to bend and it'll curve, and that's why the moon's red during solar eclipses and the sky's red at night, because it's not direct sunlight. It's the only one that can bend that far for us to still see it, So,
right,
I mean,
right.
It's making sense to me.
Well, and we've had Eric Gibson post a lot of comments in the comment section. I've even seen you guys talk back and forth. And he's a really good photographer, and he's also honorable skeptic, I would like to say, as far as the Planet X goes. He hasn't seen it with his own eyes, so he's skeptical about it, and I can totally appreciate that. And he sent some images recently to me. He said, Rex, you got to get these images out there. These are the most wild sunsets I have ever seen in my life, and they're just this incredible red, and it just pops. I've never seen anything like it either. So maybe at the end of the presentation today, I'll pull up a couple of those images that he shared with us, because you're right, the sunsets are absolutely incredible.
Yeah, it's like you understand like the concept. You can't see stars in the daytime, you know what I mean? So it's, if they wouldn't be chemtrailing this stuff, I guarantee you we've been seeing it for at least the past couple months with our naked eye, or with binoculars easily at any elevation, if they weren't doing what they're doing to the atmosphere. But it's making it so a lot of the chemicals they're spraying up there, you can go get it tested, look it up on anything, and they only reflect certain wavelengths of radiation. So that would make sense on why you can't see it with your naked eye. Basically, it would be reflecting that one narrow bandwidth that you can pick it up on back at it and out of the atmosphere, you know what I mean? And we wouldn't be able to see it with our eyes. Even though infrared's out of the light spectrum anyways, as you'd see it get closer, you would see a red aura around it, and yeah, it would look like that.
Right. Now, this one was sent in from Lee. He's got the regular image. I'll share that in a minute. And then also, this is the inverted photo. And he thinks that this anomaly right here is either a planet or a moon or a second sun of some type. Now, I find it interesting. I mean, you can definitely tell this is the lens flare right here, and you've got the bluish around that, and that's what it'll do when it's inverted from red to blue, I'm assuming. But this one right here, I thought it was at least worth bringing it out to the table, because there might be something more to that, and I'll share the original image in just a second. Let me pull it up. What's your thought on this one, Jason?
Well, when they do that, that's kind of like a gamma test, and it shows what's giving heat and stuff like that. Basically the same idea. And the dimmer stuff would be reflective heat. And if you consider the black dot the light source, it would be reflected on the right side, I mean, as you can see it's, basically the sun would light up only that one side near the sun. So, yeah, that would make sense to me, too. It could be like a planetary object.
Here's the original from Lee. And as you can see, you've got the lens flare here, the reddish lens flare, and then the telltale signs. But this piece right here, I think, is pretty cool. Now, do you feel that this could actually be a planetary body, Jason, or do you think that this is just some type of lens flare or refraction?
It's hard to say if you weren't there, man, with something like that, because, I mean, you'd have to ask the guy, did he see that when he looked up in the sky? Because if that was the case, then, possibly it'd be a planetary object. But if he didn't see that with his naked eye, it would be reflecting light, and we're saying it's a solid object, so you'd be able to see it with your eyeball, just like the moon. So that could definitely be a refraction of some sort. But it could be off of an object too, because you got to think of it like a projector. It will magnify something that's smaller in front of it, onto the lens, So that's something else too, I'm not a professional, but you'd have to really ask the people what they saw when they took that picture, that one in particular. You can see as the woman holding the sun under her hand, you know what I mean? She seen that when they took the picture. She was holding, the secondary sun under her hand. But, that guy didn't have like his finger up. That's what I would be. Like, best test is just hold your finger up, a card, a spoon, a knife, anything to block that sun, and take a couple images both ways. those little dots would, disappear, and or not. That looks legitimate to me.
Well, and let's take a look at this video footage right here, because this is the same area, and you can see that it's still got the two pieces of, or the orb, the sun, and then the two lens flares from the orb and the sun. So I'm going to hit play here. This is about a minute, and we can talk as we're watching this. Look at that.
Yeah, that's nice. See, he definitely seen that with his eyes, That's why he's photographing it. And you can see both refractions moving around in correlation to the distance between the two objects that you're seeing. Like those two at the top left, they move. He's showing you. He's trying to chase them, There's the moon.
Isn't that cool that he goes and shows, well, there's the moon.
Yeah.
And then he goes back to the sun and that orb at about the 11 o'clock position.
Yep.
And he totally gets rid of any... He shows you exactly what the lens flare is by moving it around so you can specifically see where that's going. And then these two objects are just staying completely stationary. This is some of the best video footage that I have seen.
Yeah, that's really good. I wonder where he's at. Did he say, like, Mexico or...
I think, yeah, he did, and I'll have to pull it up, and I'll make sure to add that when I get the description into the description. So,
yeah, because we can find cameras of that, or get people to aim in that, in that area, see if they can get more photos, because there must not be chemming it as much, obviously,
Yep. Yeah, that's a good piece of video footage right there. And I gotta tell you, when I pull up some of this footage here in a second of the welding glass filter, or the welding filter where you've got video footage through that, and when you take that out, you just see this one giant bright light, which just looks like the sun. It's this intense white, extremely powerful, and then you put that filter up, bingo, you can see to the top left that there's that second orb there, and it isn't just one object. So this could explain why I have been talking about for several years now the mass amounts of chemtrails, the radiation levels have increased, the sun is more intense. All of that stuff could possibly be because now we're getting closer to a second sun.
Yeah, exactly. It just makes total sense. And people forget, like, you go, like, our solar system moves through the universe and, moves through the galaxy and all that. There's like a galactic center and all that. We're going, there's a lot more it's moving than just us. So it's very, very possible that everybody's like, it's not possible, it's not. I don't see how. Not everybody, but there's a lot of people out there that just can't conceive it. And it's called photoionization. That's the idea. They're basically overexposing your eyeballs so you cannot see the two objects. You only see one big blurry one. And who wants to look at the bright light all day and hurt their eyes?
Yeah, I read these comments where people say, I look up at the sun all the time and I don't see anything. Well, keep doing that and you're not going to see anything at all because you're going to go blind.
Yeah.
I mean, use common sense, guys. Come on. Oh, I always look up at the sun. I don't have... Okay. You're going to burn your retinas out. I mean, It's really not the best idea. Even with polarized sunglasses on, and you got to be real
I hold my
careful.
hand up every time, and I usually do, like, when it's overcast, that's the only time I really look directly at it, because you'll see it behind there, and it does some pretty neat stuff. I live up about almost 6,000 feet in elevation, so it's pretty, the chemtrails are right above me, man. It's every night, every day, every night. And I can predict it. I can tell people on a clear day that, about 4 o'clock, this part of the sky will have the planes flying everywhere. And you can correlate that with the FAA flight control stuff, and there's just unmarked planes that have no marking or nothing on them, like all over, the programs telling you, we don't know what this is, They don't have like a tag, all of them are supposed to be registered if they're flying,
You're a conspiracy theorist, dude.
Yeah, I know. Didn't you ever look that up, actually, when they actually said to name any kind of, like, critical thinking like that, conspiracy theory?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, if you think for yourself, you're a conspiracy theorist, and that is a mental disorder, folks.
Yeah. That was, like, around the Reagan era when they actually came up with that as, like, in paperwork. It was weird.
It's a mental disorder if you don't believe everything the mainstream media tells you. Literally. There's now a certain title, or I don't know what label it is called, but if you think that there's a one world government, or that there might be a one world government, if you feel that banking institutions are actually a big part, or people that control the majority of the banking systems have a big part in wars previously, well, then you're labeled as a conspiracy theorist. And now you could actually be labeled as a domestic terrorist.
Yeah, domestic terrorist. I was reading that law that you're talking about, and I think I fit 3 out of 5 of the bill, like that passed, like just by my beliefs, you know, that counted me as like a terrorist or something almost in the guidelines, because they're so broad that literally everybody that you know is a domestic terrorist in that sense. So it's just another way to, you know, kind of enforce and encroach into your lives, you know. Like even teachers, women, like anybody, you know, the founding fathers are domestic terrorists in their eyes, you know, all kinds of shit. It's crazy. The same sense and the same, like, people need to understand, like, these laws literally make everybody domestic terrorists, you know. It says basically, if you don't, you know, if you feel that the government doesn't have your best intention in mind, you know, you're a domestic terrorist. So that kind of speaks for a lot of people if you think about it, you know.
You know, especially depending on where you live and the surroundings that you're around the majority of the time. Now, let me show you this video footage right here. This is from Christina Holland again. Thank you for sending this, Christina. And you can see that there's a filter up. You can see to the top left, you've got that second orb there. I'm going to hit play. So you can see the lens flare there bouncing around.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So there's that weird object. Look at how it's kind of moving. You see that?
Yeah, those are the clouds, I think, moving in front of it, kind of overcast a little bit.
Okay.
Because the welding lens filters out things that'll make the clouds moving by kind of make it feel like it's moving.
Okay.
I'm sure it's moving, but, you know.
Not that fast.
Yeah, not in our perception that fast, you know. And plus, if it's light, you got to think, if it takes our sunlight 8 minutes to get to us, then who knows, you know, what you're seeing. You might be looking like 8 and 10 minutes in the past at the same time, if you're looking at the sunlight and that light at the same time, you know what I mean? So there is some trickery going on there. It's just wavelengths of light. People don't understand, you know, you're not looking at both objects at the same time because one's further away and light can only travel so fast. Think about that.
Let me share this one with you now, too. This one's by Christina as well, and it starts off without the welder's filter. You see just that one enormous, bright, white sun.
Yeah.
It's a 13 welding, she says. A welding lens is what she used. So now you can see, there it is.
Blam.
That's some incredible concentrated swamp gas.
Yeah. That's great, actually. Yeah, and more and more people are doing that because they just see the videos, they see this, and they're like, oh, my husband welds, my, you know, blah, blah, blah welds, and then they go out and see it.
Right. Right, look at that. As soon as she takes that off, boom, it's just so bright. Looks like one giant sun getting ready to go hypernova.
And people say that's normal, you know, like I beg to differ. The sun used to be yellow, you know, and you can see how small the sun is compared to that, you know, when you put the filter on it, how dim the sun goes. Like even National Geographic's like slipped up and posted a couple good pictures and stuff like that.
Now, you've also got some new findings with the orbital path, star charts and stuff that you're going to share with us. And do you have that information with you now? Or let me show this one last video. Now, it doesn't seem as bright, but you can definitely see it.
You can see it there, yeah. You could definitely see it in the helmet, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I think that is because basically that was probably, you know what I mean? It's probably easier to look at maybe towards the morning or the afternoon.
Could be.
When it's directly above head, that's 90-degree angle almost, you know, and their chemtrails are super effective. All that blocking is super effective at a 90-degree angle, you know what I mean? Like straight up. So that's how they think of it. They're just like, well, the sun's right here, this is there, I just spray everything underneath it, you know? Not thinking about the people off at an angle taking a picture of the, you know, in the higher elevations and things like that.
Right. And I know I shared this one time before, but I don't know if everybody had a chance to see this. This was sent to us from Peter from the UK.
Yeah, that was nice.
This is just one of my favorite images that I have seen yet. That's a good one right there. And then that was
one of my favorite ones you showed me, actually. Because it showed a different perspective. It showed you in the UK and, you know, showed you that they're still seeing it over there.
Yep, and there's the reflections. You can see the dual sun reflections to it as well.
Yeah, that's what I like too, because that eliminated. It was behind the clouds.
Mm-hmm. And it's behind the clouds.
You can't fake that. And then you had another one that was right before that where it showed the, right there, blam. See, I like that one too.
Mm-hmm. And you can get a perspective on where it's actually at based upon the electrical lines and the rooftop. So
that was neat.
And then this was a pretty interesting sunset there. Now, if you would, Jason, what do you got for us? You said you were going to share some really cool orbits and stuff with us, so I'll let you pull that up.
All right, yeah. It was just some of the stuff I was sharing with you last time. It really messed up at the worst time. So what I wanted to show was the all-sky surveys and the Worldwide Telescope. You go to the WISE, all-infrared scan. This is the most up-to-date infrared scan, and right there, you can see how fast this object was moving. It froze up. It didn't show you the zoom in. So there's the object. That's the ecliptic. All right. So, there you go. Blam. This thing is like huge, moving fast. You can see the frames. You could actually do math from that if you got more of the scan data. I could show you, how fast it was going just from that one scan. But yeah, you can't say that's a planet because they travel the ecliptic, which is this way. So even if they were going backwards or whatever you want to say, nothing should be going, from south to north like everything. But he said, it's coming underneath us from the south. That it'll rise above the ecliptic, go over to ahead of us. Everybody will be able to see it as it goes out towards its other sun. And then as it gets closest to its sun, it'll drop below the ecliptic again and then go under it and come back towards us for another, 1,800 years. Whatever it is, 3,600, 180, whatever you want to say, you know what I mean? But either way, all the timelines break down to the same way, whatever you want to believe, But there it is. That's the scan. That doesn't appear there with the naked eye, That's not fake. And it's in the constellation of Pisces at that moment in 2009. Okay? You can't debunk it. They even named that object. That's what I was showing you, that was supposed to be the lost object. All right, remember that? How I showed you that in the identification chart on the last video? So,
oh yeah,
that's the pickup from that. I believe I had